Hello and welcome to another episode of Homes and Housing. I'm Sasha and this is the property show where we give you tips and tricks and the inside scoop on the property industry. Now, in past episodes we've been discussing guaranteed rent and the benefits to landlords. Well, today we're going to be talking to and hearing from a landlord who's going to be giving us his perspective on things. So let's find out what he has to say. So Imi, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. I'm really looking forward to learning more about what you do. So you've been working with the Central Housing Group for a while now, haven't you?
That's correct, yeah.
So what I would really love to know is a little bit about you and how you came to be a landlord, a bit about your history, your properties, and just kind of how you came to be where you are today.
Yeah, but by profession, I'm an electrician or ex-electrician now. Had my own business for many years, so a contractor, but a total of probably about 36 years in the electrical industry.
Oh, wow.
So very sort of comfortable within properties, whether it's residential, commercial, and it was always part of my sort of thing to sort of invest in bricks and mortar. It's always been the safest bet. Okay, bit of challenging times at the moment, but it's always been a safe bet, and that's proved its point.
And you said you had your first buy-to-let, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
So what did you do with that first buy-to-let?
Well,
did you get that?
it was, again, it was, the issue is that which way did we want to take the rental side? Did we want to go to the private sector?
Right.
Or did we want to go with social housing? Each brought its sort of negatives and positives. So, once we decided which way we were going to go with this, and then it was to find a reputable managing agent,
right?
Because I knew that I've never had the time to manage it myself, and I just thought, well, it's better that I just cut away clean and just leave it in the hands of a good lettings company.
Yeah, you wanted to be hands off and have a nice, easy life.
Yeah, if you can put it that way. Yeah.
When you were deciding to let your properties, what concerns did you have initially, and what was kind of the most important thing to you when deciding how you were going to let it?
Yeah, it was because we'd worked in a lot of properties. I'd met a lot of landlords, but albeit some landlords who owned multiple properties, and I'm talking 10, 15 properties. We'd never really sort of had the conversation, and they used to sort of manage it themselves. So I did have an idea of the management side of it, but it was really whether I could put my trust in someone else to actually then manage it, make sure that everything's fine, all of that. So that was the main concern, of just finding a company that shared my sort of integrity, transparency, and that had their work ethics, that would sit with my principles. So that was important to me. The other thing was, again, looking for a company that looked at guaranteed rents.
Yeah.
That again, I wouldn't have to then start getting involved with evictions and all of that side of things.
And have you ever had to get involved in evictions with anything you've done with your properties? Have you been in that position?
No, because properties 2, number 3, all went down with Central Housing Group, right the way through, because now it's such a simple process, and the way that they manage their business, I think it's great. It's how I manage my business. I was successful doing that.
Yeah.
But it comes, you've got to go that extra step to become successful, and I feel that, they definitely
it's the right move for you.
100%.
With regards to you going down the guaranteed rent route, obviously you get a slightly lower rental, don't you, than the private market?
Yeah.
So what kind of swayed you to go down that way? I'm guessing price over the delivery wasn't the most important thing for you.
We looked at, obviously not guaranteed, where the gains are quick and much bigger. But for me, from everything that I found out about the pitfalls of that, where you'd come across scrupulous tenants, whatever, I did not want to get involved in going to court and that whole palaver, if you want to put that, which I've seen people go bankrupt. I know a couple of people who have actually lost their homes because of such a situation. So we decided very early on that let's forfeit that extra bit of rental income to have
it's not
peace
all about
of
money
mind.
all the time, is it?
Yeah, and it was also, we've always let them out for sort of 3 years at a time.
Right.
So I just wanted, because mine has always been a long term, mid to long term, it was never short term gains.
And what do you like about having the long term as opposed to 6 months, which I know a lot of landlords do, they'll rent it for 6 months. What would you say the benefits of renting it, say 3 to 5 years, as opposed to...
I only have to go through the process once, as what we're doing at the moment, is that once the property is ready, go through everything, sign it over, and then I don't have to worry about tenants.
It's off your hands.
It's off my hands. So coming back to your question about the monetary gains and losses or whatever, that outweighs itself, because I would rather have that, a peace of mind knowing that the property will be occupied for that amount of time. It worked for me. It's not for everybody.
No, I think it's interesting because, like you say, it isn't all about the rental. For some landlords, it is, how much rent can they get? But then you find that, their houses get wrecked, they have bad tenants. So I'm guessing this is why you went down the other route.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point as well, because Central Housing Group got a very strict process that we have to go through. Everything is vetted, including myself. Even though he knows me very well, I still have to abide by the vetting process on every single property. And as you probably see from what we've done here, is that I have equally spent money to bring this property up to what it would be. All of my properties are ones that I would live in, because I would not want anybody else to move into a property that was inferior or the boiler wasn't working.
That thinking.
Yeah, so that's how I think. So it's a case of I've now invested in the property. I've spent some money to bring it up to the standards that what Central Housing Group demands.
And would you say it's important for a landlord to put some money into it first?
100%. 100%. I've seen so many properties where landlords they come across very greedy, or they're thinking it's all short term, and they don't realise that if they don't spend the money now, is that somewhere down the line the boiler is going to break down or something is going to break down. It's false economy. I would rather get everything ready to a certain standard. So at least for that, the way that I look at it, Sasha, is that for that 3 years that I'm letting it, if I get all the main parts either repaired or replaced or whatever, I don't have to worry about that. Yes, you're going to get niggly things going wrong or whatever, but that I can deal with. But the major stuff, I would say that is very important, is for landlords who are looking to engage with a company like Central Housing Group, is don't come with the view that they're just going to accept any old property. It has to fit.
They've got standards.
They've got very good standards.
Criteria of what
so again, and I'm sure there's many landlords like myself who would prepare the properties for rental, for that they would actually want to live in there.
So it sounds like he's been looking after you, Ramesh and his team have been looking after you very well for the last, how many years have you been
15 years.
15 years. Okay, and you're slowly giving them more and more properties, which is fantastic. So if I can ask you, if you could give, say, 3 bits of advice to other landlords out there that might be looking to do the same sort of thing as you with a guaranteed rent, what would you say to them?
I would say, we touched up a few of the points obviously in the conversation. I would say the first one is you need to trust and let, in my case, I can only speak of Central Housing Group, a company like Central Housing Group, trust them with the property and trust their judgment and follow them through what they're actually asking you to do. Yes, some people might think, oh, why do I want to do that, or why do I need to spend this money? The other thing that I forgot to mention is that some landlords are not conversant with what goes on within properties. So that can, but again, Ramesh would take time and his staff to explain things like what is the gas safety certificate, the electrical certificate.
Because some people are complete novices.
Exactly.
They could just buy a house and want to rent it but have no idea how to or what needs to be done. So they're transparent in a way.
Exactly, So transparency for me is a key thing. Throughout my whole sort of life, it's always been engaging with trustworthy, loyal, transparent people. And we've not gone. So that's one thing. The second thing I would say is do come with the sort of, as we sort of touched upon it, of that, yes, you're not going to make as much rental income as what you would do in private sector, but do weigh up the pros and cons. Do your homework. It's not just a case of getting a buy-to-let property and yes, we're going to earn money and that's going to be my pension. It's do your homework, find out a little bit more, speak to
Do
people.
your research.
Do your research, 100%. You've got to do your research.
As if you were doing for anything.
Yeah. Because it's yours, as long as you've got, and it has to be, I think the third and final is that you've got to look towards buy-to-lets as a mid to long term.
Definitely.
You cannot come into this. I mean, I'm not deterred by what back then George Osborne, who set aside, he was coming after the smaller landlords like myself.
Right.
I'd like to think that I'm going to fight that and carry on. So I'm not deterred whatsoever by, coming out of the buy-to-let.
So is this something you now do full time?
No. It's not full time. I would say if things go well for me in the next few years and we could probably secure another property, then I'll carry on. I'll carry on up until I can, and then put a stop. But I can do that when you're in partnership with a company like Central Housing Group, because they take away a lot of that stress, that people bring on and other people. So that's when you can think to expand.
Yeah.
Now, if it so happens that we end up having more than 5+ properties, then it's a different proposition. Then I've got to look towards some sort of management myself. But at the moment,
you're happy.
I'm happy with Central Housing Group and what they bring for me.
Well, it sounds like you've had a great experience so
Yeah.
far, and I'm sure many people watching this are going to be looking to do a similar thing to you and having that same experience.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for taking the
Not at all.
time
Yeah.
to talk to me. It's been fantastic, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much, and lovely to meet you,
And
Sasha.
you.
Thank you.
Wow, I learned so much, and I hope you did too. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. If you're looking to rent a property and would like to know more, then do check out the Central Housing Group website. And for more great content, please follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.